Natural Habitat Expeditions is pleased to be bringing you this webinar today. We're here with Olaf Malver, and we're very excited to be talking about sailing Antarctica. Now, before I turn it over to Olaf, I'd like to tell you a little bit more about him. Olaf's enthusiasm is unparalleled for exploring the planet's most remote and dramatic destinations. He speaks 6 languages. He has a PhD in chemistry and a master's in international law and diplomacy from Tufts University. He's also a former science educator at the University of California, San Francisco. And Olaf has been an adventure travel guide for more than 25 years, pioneering numerous paddling routes on groundbreaking expeditions, particularly in Greenland. He's a serious outdoorsman and has climbed mountains, traveled by dog sled, and hiked in more than 80 countries over 35 years. He's a fellow of the Exclusive Explorers Club, which is an honor bestowed on only a handful of the world's premier adventurers. And this expedition that we are going to talk about today is certainly one that can only be done by a few, and you're very lucky to be able to learn about that today and how you can enjoy this experience as well of sailing through Antarctica. So Olaf, thanks for joining us and telling us more.
Sure, thank you very much, Lee. That was a very kind introduction, and I welcome all the participants here, and we'll go ahead. Yes, as you can see, I have the best job in the world. I am the Chief Exploration Officer, basically meaning that I can go out and explore a lot of wonderful places and be with a lot of great people. And today I'm going to tell you about one of my best places. How do I go forward here?
So, yeah, right down there. That's right. Click right there.
Okay. And one of my favorite places that I have traveled to among those 80-some places that Lee talked about is the Antarctica. I started in Greenland, and for sure Greenland is an amazing place, but Antarctica is even bigger. And what we did some years ago when we had a company called Explorers Corner, which later merged into Natural Habitat Expeditions, which is a part of the Natural Habitat Adventure family, we started doing very special expeditions to the Nrd Continent. We were the first ones who took people out sea kayaking up to South Georgia. Right here, we sailed a little sailboat over to South Georgia and basically kayaked 120 miles on the north coast here. And we also wanted to go down to the Antarctic Peninsula, which you can see here, jutting out here between South America and the Drake's Passage. And we did that by kind of piggybacking on one of the usual bigger ships that sails through Antarctica. And that is how people normally go to Antarctica. They go to these, on board these big cruise ships, and they leave from Ushuaia, which is right here, and then they cross the Drake's Passage. And these groups are between 50 and, well, even up to 250 people. Large groups that go, and then they sail down through here on the western side of the Antarctic Peninsula. That's how most people see Antarctica, in big groups and on very, very big, comfortable cruise ships. A few other people, they go to these the hidden side of Antarctica, but that's much longer trips. So given that, and we did that for a few years, where we actually piggybacked on to these cruise ships. But I just found that there's another way of doing it, and that is to take a small boat, sailboat, find a good crew, and be sure that they know what they're doing in Antarctica, and they must have had a lot of experience, and then basically get some permits to not just to go ashore for a few hours, but basically have the option to set up a expedition tent on the ice, on the land of the Antarctic Peninsula. Now that's not something that everybody could do, and we have now done it for a few years. It takes a lot of effort from for getting the permits to camp in Antarctica. You have to make big application process through the National Science Foundation, and because we have done this for a few years, we have a good track record of not polluting and doing it the right way. So we can get these permits now. Not everybody can get it, but with a good track record, you can keep getting those. So with that said, if you can get a small boat and get an intimate experience, if we can get some camping options, and now we have refined the product so that we even shorten the number of days that we sail across the Drake's Passage. And we have today I'm going to talk about two kind of close product. One product is where we sail across the Drake's Passage and then we fly home, but there's now a possibility to fly with a short takeoff and landing jet down on the peninsula, and then you can fly home from there. So you don't only cross the Drake's Passage once. I think it's a wonderful experience, but most people don't have time to do it twice, and it takes 3 to 4 days to cross the passage. So the combination of sailing, flying, camping through difficult to get permits, it really gives you the optimal Antarctic nature experience, and I'll explain that to you going forward. Here's a map of what I'm talking about. So on the December 29th date, 2014 to January 14th, we will basically sail down from Ushuaia in Argentina across the Drake's Passage. We'll explore down here on the peninsula, and then we'll sail up to the South Shetland Islands via Deception Island, where an airplane will take us back to South America. So that's called the sail out, fly home, fly back option. Now another group will then, on the neighboring slide here, you can see here how the other group basically will, I don't know why this is doing this. Okay. Why can't I get the arrow here? The arrow here. Okay. Anyhow, as you can see on the slide to the right, how this the same airplane that picked up the first group, they fly in the second group, and we will do the thing in reverse, which is basically fly in and sail home. But you can see that groups that do this only cross the Drake's Passage once, and thus gets very efficient time to spend on their precious vacation on the Antarctic Peninsula. We start out in, let's take the first trip where we start in Ushuaia, and to be true to what National Habitat Adventures always do, we find the best hotel in town, and we found Hotel Andino, Alto Andino, which is a 4- or 5-star hotel with all the amenities, and we asked people to come in a day early, just in case if there's any delays flying from the US or Canada or Europe via Buenos Aires down to Ushuaia. It's an interesting town, and there's some museums, and also you can rest, after that long flight to the tip of South America. Then we take the boat over, and the boat we have chosen is the Australis. It's a 75-foot long boat. It's not a racing boat. It's a boat that is for an intimate experience for 7 clients. It's a boat that can sail fast and motor fast. It's a motor sailor, so it will both sail and motor. And we can we can motor 7 to 9 knots depending on the current. So if you add some sailing speed to that, we can really get fast across the Drake's Passage. That's really important when you choose a sailboat like this, that you can move across the Drake's Passage fast. It's built for comfort, and you can see here we have 4 bedrooms for our 7 clients and our guide, and they are in the fore of the boat. The crew sleeps in the gray area all the way up, And in the back of the boat, in the aft of the boat, you have a sofa arrangement where people can eat around, and of course the kitchen right there. I'll show you some pictures, but it's a top-notch boat, built for comfort, built for speed, and built for really getting safe across the Drake's Passage. We have satellites on board, satellite phones and emails, and TV. We will watch movies during the sailing if you're below deck, and it's just a top-notch boat. That's a picture from the Drake's Passage here, and as I said, 7 to 9 knots, quick sailing, and the whole 9 yards of sails for you to come up with. Now, there's one thing about this sailing here that I would tell you. It's pretty exciting to sail, and for those, and there are already people that have signed up on both trips, and many of them, they really actually want to enjoy the sailing, and we do allow that. Of course, you won't sail the boat alone across the Drake's Passage, but there will be a first mate or captain behind you. But you will be, basically standing behind the rudder and learning how to sail, if you want, across one of the most beautiful, wildest oceans in the world. As it is on most Antarctic boats, we also have an open bridge policy, and so you'll be really close to the action. You will see where we're going. You will be able to look at the charts. You basically learn how to become a skipper of a boat, and that's really what we want to do. We want to have that personal experience and in-depth experience of adventure. Here's some pictures. I know they're not that good, but that's all I have of the inside of the boat. But you can see, nicely kept, modern and comfortable, lots of space for 7 people. So we will be basically have on the configuration we have 2 people in each room. So there will be berths for 2 people in each room. If you are a couple, you can choose to have a double bed below and then use the upper bed for your luggage. Or if you are 2 people that would like to sleep in twin, you can either share that double bed with a board in the middle, or one person can go on top. Grilling on deck, sitting in the sun. It is a wonderful boat. Here's an opportunity if you want to go on top of the boat. We have a crow's nest where you can be hauled up and you can take pictures from there. We use that for our crew to get a better picture of the overall ice situation when we get closer to the Antarctic Peninsula. So here we are at the peninsula, and we are resting in a wonderful quiet bay with a fur seal yawning at the spectators. We will also be able to encounter ice. I mean, that's one of the points of getting to Antarctica, to see the majestic nature of ice on the peninsula. And this boat is ice reinforced, and it has, of course, a radar and a sonar, so there's all precautions taken so that this ice will not make havoc with our boat. The most important thing of a good sailing adventure to Antarctica is really to have the right people. And Ben Wallace, whose father is a very famous skipper himself. As you can see of his resume, this man has sailed since he had diapers on, and has, as a grown-up man, done amazing things. I mean, we are talking about 15 years across the Antarctic, oceans, South Georgia, even Greenland, and the New Zealand subarctic. He's been across the Drake's Passage at least 25 times. So you're in good hands with him. He looks very young, but he's extremely experienced. And with him, we have 2 other crew members, Sky, and you can see her resume here is good. And not only are they very competent sailors and navigators, but they're also really fun to be with. Magnus as well has done his part of sailing in the wildest waters of the world. They know how to go through a snowstorm, they know how to navigate in ice, and they know to have a lot of fun doing it. So the point here is really the intimate wildlife experience. This is the picture taken from the crow's nest. I mean, this you would never be able to experience such a thing if you are in a big cruise ship. You are basically close to the breathing hole of the whales. You can almost touch the whales. The whales are more curious when you have small ships like this, boats like this. They come very close, and here you can almost touch your slippers to the mouth of the whale. That's what it is like. we call the trip extreme adventure because it's not for everyone. But of course, the reward is amazing. But one word that I would like to use on this trip is the word optional. As you can see here, you don't have to hike. Hiking is optional. And you also don't have to camp if you don't like camping. Some people don't. The boat will be very close to where the camp is, in the bay where it's safe to anchor. So if you for some reason are not comfortable in a tent, you can still be in the boat close by and still partake in the Zodiac and kayaking excursions. And also, we also have some kayaking activities. You don't have to do that. They're all optional. What always happens is that people are a little bit like leery about what to do when they come down there. And then when they see how wonderful it is, and we kind of nudge you in the right direction, you all want to camp, and you all want to kayak, and you all want to just hike and be active. So we are honest about it. We will give you an option, of course, to not do things, and we're not forcing you to do things. But this always happens. People want to get into it. Even the sailing is fun. And it's this whole trip is about getting close to nature, feeling the spray in your face, smelling the penguin, and I think this is something that is so unique. It gives you this kind of a setup, gives you truly time to be in Antarctica. When you are on these big cruise ships, first of all, it takes a lot of time to get people in and out of cruise ships, and you feel like you are a little bit in a circus with other tourists, and all those people kind of takes the attention away from nature and also the animals there. If you are a small group of people who have permits to stay as long as you want, you see these big cruise ships, they only have 2 hours permits to go on specific beaches. Here we have all the time we want. We have a flexible itinerary. And let's say we really like this beautiful place. Well, let's just stay here. Let's put up camp. And then let's go for hikes. Let's just enjoy it. And most importantly, let's be with the animals. And I'd say that one of the most frustrating things for me to be on those big cruise ships was always that you never really had time to photograph the animals. You only had these 2 hours. And animals, they don't all get ready for photo opportunities in 2 hours, and often the light that you want to take pictures in is in the evening or early morning. Well, in the evening or the early morning on the cruise ships, you are in the buffet line, standing waiting to be fed, while we are just sitting alone, our little group, on the beach, seeing that light coming through the wall of the waters, and seeing all the penguins coming out of the water. And the photography is just amazing if that's what you are into. We have our Zodiac with us, so we can go out and cruise between the icebergs. That's very important. It gives you a much bigger range of exploring things. And also, because that's what our adventure backbone basically is, we used to be a kayaking company. So we have brought a couple of kayaks with us, and one of our expedition leader, he will go out on the water with you and kayak under ice arches, icebergs, and really feel the water again if you would like to do that. It's quite amazing to see penguins from the seat of a kayak in a very quiet way. The animals kind of wonder, what is all this? They don't run away. They just look at you, and you can look at them, and you kind of meet nature on the terms of nature instead of at a distance. Again, our permit for camping is 5 to 6 days maximum. Of course, the number of days camping has to be, weighed against what's the weather and the wind like. If we have to move camp, if we have to move on, if some weather system comes, then maybe we will cut a day or two of camping. But this is the number of days we have. We have 5 to 6 days of camping in Antarctica, and we have good tents, and we will bring the V25s, which are actually warm inside, and you will bring your sleeping bag, and all is hunky-dory. This is from last year, where we put our tent up in some quiet bay, and people adventured from there. You can see actually that's a research station down on the right side of the picture here. You're not allowed to stay at these research stations. Some of them are not inhabited actually. They're more historical monuments. So we are respectful to that and go a little bit away. And here we are, just sitting with Mother Nature, big and alone. And of course, penguins all over. This is penguin territory, and I'll say that this place is really one of the most wonderful wildlife places on Earth. I've been to many wildlife places, and this is one of the most intense ones. South Georgia is another one. Serengeti, of course, Africa is another one. But if you are into nature photography, and want to really submerge yourself into this is how to do it. I'm showing you a couple of different penguin pictures here. I mean, you can. This picture was actually taken just before I launched in my kayak, and a bunch of penguins just swam by. Also, this picture is taken from the seat of a kayak. Some of our friends coming to camp, checking us out. I remember the first time I camped in Antarctica, the penguins came out of the water, and mother penguin, she could somehow, they can hear their little chick among 100,000 of other penguins up on the hill from all the other chicks, and she just beelined it straight up to the to her chick, except my tent was in the way, so she just ran into the tent, and I had to open the back door so that she could continue running up to her little penguin chick. That's how close you get to nature. This picture is taken at the Lemaire Channel, which is one of the most wonderful places north of Anvers Island. And here we are, all these birds in tuxedos walking up and down the beach. A chinstrap penguin with two pretty old chicks, and somebody just scratching his cheek. And this is what I'm talking about. The photographic light in late afternoon is just phenomenal when you have time to be there. This is a sea lion, and of course one of those big elephant seals with very little table manners, Vidal seals, and other mammals that just blows my mind. Some of the places we'll see remnants of the old Norwegian and other whaling stations. This picture is taken in Deception Bay, where there's actually hot springs inside the Deception Island in that circular bay that we might have heard about. But we will actually be able to visit that place, and maybe we will even kayak through the bellows into the bay, go to the beach, and go in the hot water which comes out of the hot springs, which is very close to the beach. It's wonderful. Another kayaking picture of a fin whale next to the Antarctic ice shelf. Even killer whales in Paradise Bay. curious killer whales coming up close to us. Again, great morning photography light, and even in the afternoon. We hope to get down to the Malver Channel, which is a very narrow channel where big glaciers rumble down from each side of the channel and leave all that ice in the middle there, because it's just a phenomenal place to sail through, and also, if you want to kayak through on a late afternoon, the natural habitat expeditions. The weather is changing all the time. In Antarctica, because of the compression or the low pressure circulating in the Antarctic continent, you can have sunshine, and then you can have overcast, and then you can have rain, and then you can have snow, and then you can have sleet, and you can have such. You can have many low pressures in one day. It's a very alive place. But it's not like you have bad weather for a long time. And that's one of the things about crossing the Drake's Passage, which a lot of people are worried about. If we come out of Ushuaia and we go down towards Cape Horn, and we can look at our radars and our weather satellites that bad weather is coming in, we just stay put for half a day, let it go through the Drake's Passage, and then we go over. So there are ways of avoiding, as much bad weather as possible. So after the trip of sailing and adventuring and camping and wildlife photography and so forth, we then hop onto this airplane here that picks us up at King George Island in the South Shetlands, and 2 hours later you're back in South America, in Punta Arenas in Chile. So again, sail out, fly back, and fly out, sail back. So the summary, the numbers on this trip here is that we have 2 dates in December, January 2014 and 15, and the first date is almost sold out, and the second one is half full. Based on that success, and I think that it's going to be filled up very soon, we have also added 4 dates in the 2015-16 season. And now the way we have done this is that the first date in 2015 is a sail down, fly home. The second date is, we have changed that a little bit in the sense that you can fly in and fly out. The third one is also a fly in, fly out. And the third one is a fly in, sail home. So you have all 3 combinations. So if you want just the total fly in, fly out, it's the 15-day trip. And if you want Drake's Passage at the Drake's Passage, it's a 7-day trip. The cost is $23,000 per person, and that's pretty competitive in the sense that you are in a very small group, you are away from a long time, and you're going to one of the most amazing places on earth. And then you're back in Punta Arenas, and again, of course, 5-star hotels. We find the best place for you, and there you finally can sit down at a nice restaurant and have a farewell dinner with our guide that goes with you. And our expedition guide there will be an expedition guide with you all the time. He will meet you in South America. He'll go down with you an adventure, and he'll fly back with you in South America. So there's no time during this trip where you are not taken well care of by our professional staff. So with that said, if you're up for this, and I know it's not for everybody, but it's for the few intrepid, and for those who if they decide to go to Antarctica, why not do it the real way, and why not do it to the hilt, and really adventure and see the animals in terms of the animals. So with that said, I'll thank you very much for your attention, and also thank some of the co-photographers that help us put together this little webinar. Thank you.
Olaf, thank you so much. That was a beautiful presentation. And we've got several questions here, so I'm going to start with this one. how does one get on and off the boat and onto the ice?
Basically, you will find a landing spot on the ice. Often it's a place where there are some rocks or where the ice goes all the way down to the water edge, and then the Zodiac will uh, sail up with the nose first and press itself up against the ice so it's at level with the ice. Our expedition leader will jump ashore first and grab the line, and then he'll give you a hand, and you jump from the Zodiac up to ground, or either to the ground or to ice. But of course, we cannot land places where there are high ice walls. Actually, there's a lot of high ice walls in Antarctica. So we have the places we have sought permit to land and from the National Science Foundation are places like that where we can get ashore easily.
And then once ashore, how long will the travelers typically stay there?
Well, again, it's a very flexible itinerary, but if let's say we sail that day, we go down and we sail in the morning, we sail 2 or 3 hours down and get ashore like at, let's say, after breakfast at 10 o'clock, and we decide to camp, right? Then we go ashore and we set up camp. And the commissary, we also make food. We are allowed to make food in Antarctica. And then we spend that whole day on excursions, either in Zodiac excursions coming back to camp, or hiking along the beaches, or time for yourself with photography. And then that evening we go into the tents. So that's a full day. Next morning we will be picked up by the Zodiac and brought back again to the ship and go to our next destination. So that's basically a 24-hour experience ashore.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's great. So there's a question here about motion sickness. Do you find that travelers will typically acclimate to the motion and not need a medication after a few days?
Yes, absolutely. I had a big discussion with somebody the other day, and I can say that with some authority, because the Drake's Passage, yes, you can have sometimes a storm there. But the thing about the storm that goes through the Drake's Passage is it's waves. It's not big swells and waves. So, for instance, if you go out to South Georgia, which is 500 nautical miles east of the Drake's Passage, there's a huge fetch of that low pressure goes compressed through the Drake's Passage. They have time and length to really build up, and that's how people get really seasick. When you have the combination of big swells and just waves whipped up by a storm coming through. So again, we try to avoid getting seasick. We try to avoid the bad weather. I cannot guarantee you. If we get into a windy situation, of course we'll take the sails down and just motor, and then we'll tell people, I think it's time to go on the deck and just relax with a book on your berth on the Drake's Passage. And we recommend that everybody brings seasickness medication. There are all kinds of medication, but the thing that works in very hard weather is the scopolamine patch, which you can get from your doctor by prescription. And all that information we will send you prior to the trip, of course. But for sure, I would say after 2-3 days, you get sea legs. You really your body acclimatizes to the movements on the boat, and you get used to being a real sailor, and seasickness becomes much less of a problem.
Okay, very good. Thank you. And there's a question here about the expedition leader. Is the expedition leader one of the 3 crew members?
No. Our expedition leader is a naturalist with adventure travel experience. So apart from the 3 guys that you saw on the slides here, we have a professional natural habitat expedition leader with a very deep knowledge of the Antarctic flora, fauna, and geology. We want to add that to it. So you basically have maximum 7 people being taken care of and helped by and led by and guided by 4 people. So it's a very big guide to client ratio.
Yes, absolutely. Well, what about special equipment? Do the guests need to bring any special equipment with them?
No, yeah, I mean, if special equipment is a sleeping bag, yes. If special equipment is a sleeping pad and one of those thermarest pads, yes. But you have to bring that yourself, and most people have that. So otherwise, you just need to bring your Gore-Tex jacket, your Gore-Tex pants, your thermal underwear, and a great attitude, and you should be all set.
Perfect. And then there's a question here about beverages. What beverages are included? I would imagine the question is about spirits and wine, whether that's included. I'm sure that would be a wonderful thing to have on this trip to really.
Of course.
Yeah.
We have all kinds of good South American wines for you on board, and all that stuff is, included. You can choose between red wine and white wine, and we even have a little bar, and that's of course not extra. We will take care of you and give you that wonderful sundowner in the Antarctic sunset.
Perfect.
No problem.
We have a question here about the average temperature. Is there an average temperature during these journeys?
Well, the average temperature on these kind of trips, either in the Arctic or the Antarctic, is determined by the temperature of the ocean. And since we sail there, the ocean is open, so the average temperature is above 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Maybe it's 30. Sometimes you get some snow and sleet, but it never becomes 20 degrees Fahrenheit or 0 degrees Fahrenheit. And then it can get up to about on a good day it can get up to 45, 50. If there's no wind and the sun is shining, it can get all the way up to that. So that's the temperature of the Antarctic. It's a cold place for sure, but as we say, there's nothing called cold weather. There's just something called bad clothing, and we will help you, prepare with the right clothing so that you have the right layers. And our expedition leader will be there also and advise you what to do and what not to do.
Okay, thank you. So what percentage of time would you say the boat is underway with the sails up?
Most of the time, because we want to get from place to place. And the good thing is that we have a lot of wind there. So we don't sail where there's a lot of ice. It's just too dangerous to maneuver at a very high speed with sails on. So, of course, we will sail as much as we can, and normally the sails are up 100% on the Drake's Passage, unless it gets very windy, very, very windy. And when we get down to the peninsula, we also use our sails. We will sail along. When we get down to the Paradise Bay and the Gerlach Strait, that you saw that ice that came down from the glaciers there, that's not a place where you will sail. It's just not safe to hammer your boat into all of that ice there. So I would say we sail, between 80 and 90% of the time. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you brought up safety. That was going to be my next question. There's a couple questions here about how far away emergency assistance might be, if that would be needed, or if there's any real concern about capsizing or anything like that, which I think you sort of addressed just now, but maybe we can talk about emergency assistance.
No, first of all, about the capsizing, no boats capsize in Antarctica like that. No. That's a no-no. But I would like to talk about the emergency and the safety precautions we have here. See, our captain and his boat, his outfit, they're a member of the International Association for Antarctic Tour Operators. And these are all the serious companies that work, also the bigger ships that work in Antarctica. They are a member of that organization. And what they do is, through the organization, they know exactly where other ships are. So in case anything happens, let's say you get an appendicitis, and I once had on a kayaking trip a person who dislocated his hip carrying a very heavy kayak he shouldn't have done, and we had to evacuate him out. And I got on the telephone, my satellite phone telephone, and 3 hours later, he was on board a big cruise ship with 2 nurses and 1 doctor. So all these ships that are down there, the big ones, and that's the good thing about the big ships. Although you never see them, but you know where they are and you can get in contact with them because we have all the satellite phone numbers of those. They actually create a big safety network for people. And then, so if somebody needs to be evacuated, they quickly, let's say that we have a problem, then we will get our patient on board a bigger ship. They will quickly sail up to where the airplane is up in South Shetland Islands, and of course have be with a medical facility on board that ship, and then be flown up to South America to Punta Arenas for further medical treatment. So there's surprisingly a very good safety and medical assistance network because of that wonderful AIDA organization.
Good, thank you. So I think we just have one question left, and that was just a clarification on the pricing and whether the pricing includes permits and so forth. So is the pricing all inclusive?
The pricing includes everything, including the drink and the sunset, but it does not include the international airfare round trip to the embarkation and disembarkation point. We have an air office, and that's normal for these kind of trips, because some of you want to, use frequent flyer miles. Some of you want to use certain airlines. So it's just not practical for us also to include the international routing. But what we can do is we have 4 people in our office, in the Natural Habitat office in Boulder, an air department that can help you get the best flight in and out of Ushuaia and Punta Arenas. So everything from those 2 cities are included, of course.
Very good. Well, Olaf, thank you so much for being with us today. That concludes the question and answer. We've taken care of all of those. So I'll turn it back over to you now for any other thoughts you'd like to share before we go.
Yeah, I mean, I am really proud of offering this kind of trips to our audience at Natural Habitat Adventures. Natural Habitat Adventures, they do really cool things. They are the nature people. They are the people who take take clients like you up to the polar bears in Hudson Bay, and we have a fantastic program in Africa and South America as well. So for me to be able to offer such a unique natural habitat program, a nature program, an animal program in the Antarctic is just something I do with great pride. And I would more than welcome you to call our people in the office, and I would be happy to talk further to you, because we are probably the most experienced operator and reseller of particularly these kind of trips. And if you want to know more about the animals that we can find down there, and what kind of photographic equipment that we need to advise you to bring, etc., etc., we are really the people who can do it with you. So with that said, come along and let's have some fun.
Thank you, Olaf, so much. I appreciate you taking the time to tell us more about this, and to all of you for being with us today. We really appreciate that, and for Kendall and Megan in the background who were assisting answering questions. For now, we will say good day and conclude our webinar. Goodbye, everybody.